You lie still beneath the hush of midnight, where even the air seems to pause. The sky above stretches endlessly, not just black, but breathing, a canvas where light forgets its beginning, and time leans gently toward the end. There, above you, Entropy begins her song. She is not chaos, not destruction. No, she is the soft decay of a once bright flame, the cooling of coffee forgotten on a windowsill, the fading echo of laughter in a room now empty. Entropy is the universe's lullaby, a drift toward quietness. You are part of this rhythm, whether you notice or not. The cells in your body hum with heat, the leftover murmur of burning stars. But even they will cool, slowly, inevitably, not in alarm, but in serenity. Entropy, you see, is not something to fear. It's the natural tendency of things to unwind, to settle, to exhale. Imagine a tightly wound clock spring, slowly releasing, not breaking, but relaxing. A cosmic sigh. Look back, now, to the earliest moment, the beginning of time. The universe was a furnace of order, tight with energy, fierce with potential, everything compressed, everything ready. A match struck in silence, and from that flare, everything began. Stars bloomed, planets danced into place, galaxies spiraled like whispers across the dark. But the spark, no matter how bold, begins to cool. This is entropy, the slow unfolding, the scattering of cards from a once neat deck. Even stars obey it. They shine fiercely, yes, but always towards stillness. Their fuel is finite, their heat a gift that cannot be kept. One day they will dim, some collapse into black holes, others sigh into red embers, and then into silence. You too are stardust in motion, a being walking the slope of entropy. Every breath you take warms the air, every heartbeat leaves a mark on time. But it's not waste, it's a contribution. Because entropy is not loss, it's movement, it's change, it's the poetry of letting go. A candle melts not to end, but to become something else. Wax and smoke, light and shadow, all part of the story. In this way the universe does not break, it transforms. Now, imagine a deck of playing cards, shuffled until their order is gone. It would take tremendous effort to return them to their original state. But to let them scatter, that takes nothing. Nature leans toward ease, toward randomness. And yet within that randomness emerges life. You exist because the universe has space for imperfection, because entropy made it possible for matter to cool, for atoms to bind, for stars to form, for planets to spin, for oceans to rise, and for life to dream. Without entropy, the universe would remain locked in fiery stillness, too precise, too rigid for love, for water, for thought. Entropy is the grandmother of complexity. She does not shout, she hums. In her lullaby, you find seasons, the melting snow, the curling of autumn leaves, the wrinkling of paper, the long exhale of a day coming to close. And what of you? Your mind is a candle, two thoughts flickering into being, then dissolving like vapor. You forget. You change. Memories soften at the edges, but this isn't loss. It is natural. A forest shedding leaves, a river rounding stone, a night fading into dawn. Even your emotions drift with entropy. The sharp becomes dull, the intense, manageable. Time wears the jagged edges smooth. Entropy heals in slowness. You understand now that to fear decay is to misunderstand its purpose. It isn't an enemy, it's a lull in the music, a necessary silence so that new notes may rise. If all things remained ordered, there would be no time, no seasons, no breath between beginnings and endings. Entropy gives you time, not forever, but enough. Enough to feel, to wonder, to be. Look around you, now. This room, this moment, is warm because of entropy. Your body, a furnace that cools ever so slowly. The light on the wall, a sun's distant whisper. Each object you see slowly aging, slowly changing, and yet still beautiful. In this slow drift, you find rhythm, you find peace. Just as tides retreat and wind still, you too will slow. And that is not an end, it is simply part of the story. A chapter, not a closing. Entropy doesn't erase. She remembers in softer tones. She collects moments like leaves in a stream, carried not discarded. Let her cradle you. Let go of needing everything to stay. The stars don't mourn their fading. They illuminate until they don't. That's enough. You turn on your side now, breathing deeply, not clinging, just floating, letting each thought rise and fall like the tides. There is no rush. The universe is unwinding, and so are you, not breaking, becoming. And just as the stars cool and the wind stills, you drift closer to the next question. If all things fall towards stillness, what then gives birth to motion again? You drift again, weightless in the hush between thoughts. The universe around you no longer feels like a place. It feels like a direction, a river you cannot see, yet one you feel carrying you gently forward. Time, not a clock, not the sharp tick of gears, but a current, soft, relentless. You are not walking through it. You are floating within it. Look closer. Each moment is a leaf carried on this stream. No leaf returns to the tree. No drop flows back to the source. You are moving forward always, even when you are still. Why? Because entropy leans in this direction. She tilts the plane, and time rolls down it like a marble, smooth, unstoppable. If the universe were perfectly ordered, there would be no slope, no past or future, just a frozen now. But the world is not frozen. A hot cup cools, a candle burns, a heartbeat fades into sleep, and so time flows because entropy deepens the valley. You imagine for a moment, pressing rewind, the smoke curling back into the candle, the shattered glass reforming, the whispered word returning to the mouth. But something resists, not just the world, your body, your breath. It is not meant to go backward. Even memory is a one-way mirror. You see where you've been, never where you're going. This is because the universe remembers in one direction, from less disorder to more, from simplicity to complexity, from neatness to scatter. You think of a snowflake, forming in the upper clouds, such precision, such order, but only because the water molecules were once warm vapor, chaotic and free. They surrendered to the cold, aligned into beauty. And yet that snowflake, perfect as it seems, will melt, its symmetry dissolved in sunlight. Time marches on. Entropy doesn't destroy the snowflake out of malice. She returns it to the stream, back into the flow. You are not separate from this. Inside you, tiny engines churn. Your cells burn sugar. Your mind burns thought. Each act sends a ripple down the stream. Each ripple, a note in the quiet orchestra of time. You cannot undo the music, only play it. But that's the gift, isn't it? Without this flow, you'd have no story, no beginning, no change, no bittersweetness. Imagine a world where time stood still, where nothing aged, where every breath was the same. There would be no sorrow, but also no song, no laughter, no memory, no meaning. Because meaning needs contrast, a light that fades, a bloom that wilts, a moment that passes. This is what gives the river its shimmer, the way it never reflects the same sky twice. You listen now, to your own heartbeat. It is not forever, but it is here. Time passes through you like wind through grass. You are not apart from the clock. You are part of it. A gear not grinding but dancing. Even the galaxies above you obey. Their arms swirl because time stretches space. The stars in them ignite, burn, collapse, not randomly, but rhythmically. Each supernova a bell tolling in the cathedral of time. You float past them, down the stream, past ancient quasars, past drifting comets, past your own childhood, and you realize time is not just motion, it is memory. it is becoming. The arrow points forward, not because it must, but because entropy has painted the path with purpose. In one direction cold coffee, in the other an untouched cup. Only one is real, and you sip from the real one, knowing it will cool, knowing it must, and still you drink, because this is life, not despite time, but because of it. You dream now of rewinding to childhood laughter, to held hands, to the stillness before loss. But even dreams follow the river, they carry you forward, not as a cruel trick, but as an invitation to feel, to change, to exist. Entropy does not pull you apart all at once. She carries you grain by grain, thought by thought, like sand shifting in an hourglass, each moment passing through your fingers, soft as starlight, final as truth, but not gone, never gone, only transformed. You are not the same as you were a year ago, or a minute, or a breath, and that is the gift of the river. It sculpts you. Time is the artist, entropy, the chisel, and your life, a statue being revealed, bit, by all that falls away. Do not fear the falling. The pieces you lose are not wasted, they become part of the stream, part of the music. You are becoming, always, even now lying still, eyes closed, you are drifting forward, and in that drift, there is peace. Let go, let the river carry you. You do not need to steer, you do not need to know where it ends. Just float, just feel, just be. And as you slip further into that current, a question whispers through the trees of your mind. If time flows in one direction, what carved the riverbed in the first place? You float now through colder air, not the chill of winter, but of ancient fires long since spent. Above you, the stars no longer dance. They rest. You have entered the quiet fields of stellar memory, the graveyards of the sky. Here, the night glows faintly with the embers of suns. Not dead, but sleeping. A white dwarf pulses faint beneath a ghostly veil of light. Its surface hot but still. It once raged like your own sun, flaring, roaring, giving warmth to worlds. Now, it glows like porcelain, compact, silent, a pearl in space. It is no longer creating light, only letting go of what remains. This is how fires fade in the cosmos, not with sudden darkness, but with a long, patient glow, a warmth that lingers in the fabric of space, like breath on glass. You watch it spin, not wildly, but like a coin nearly at rest, all of its chaos spent, all of its fuel given. This is not tragedy, this is fulfillment. The star lived, it burned, it gave, and now it is becoming something else. Entropy arrives here not as a thief, but as a hospice nurse, not stealing life, but wrapping it in stillness. You drift further, past another relic, a neutron star smaller, stranger, denser, once the core of a mighty sun, now crushed into a single teaspoon of impossibility. So dense it bends time, so quiet it sings in radio waves. It pulses, 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 a lighthouse whose beam crosses the dark, like the beat of a forgotten heart. It is not bright like other stars, but it is precise, enduring. You feel its rhythm echo in your bones, a metronome in space, the ghost of fire, still keeping time. This is not a place of fear, it is a museum of endings. Each object here, once roared with fusion, now they hum with memory. Even the black holes, those shadows stitched into the fabric of sky, were once stars too proud to let go quietly. They collapsed under their own brilliance, so heavy with light, they turned inward, and now even light cannot leave them. But they are not voids, they are pages turned too far to read. You wonder how many stars have lived and died, while you've taken a single breath. Thousands, millions. You do not mourn them, you thank them, because you are made of their ash, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the gold in your wedding ring, all forged in a furnace that no longer burns. The stars died beautifully, so you could be. Every time you blink, a star's story completes itself in you. You drift further, and the sky dims even more, not because it lacks stars, but because so many are already gone. Their light is still arriving. Letters sent long ago, only now reaching your eyes. Some stars you see no longer exist, but their messages endure. Light, after all, is a time traveler, a soft insistence that presence does not require permanence. You hold this in your heart. To shine is to give, to burn is to change, to fade is not to fail. Even your own sun, someday, will enter this slow goodbye. It will swell, then shrink, then glow faintly for billions of years, a white dwarf humming in the distance. By then the earth will be quiet, its oceans long gone, its forests only memory in stone. But perhaps something will still remember, a satellite drifting through the void, a voyager's golden record, a fragment of human laughter etched in a disk of copper. We too send light, we too leave echoes. You are part of that long ripple, not outside the story, but inside it. One day, you will fade. Your warmth will become memory, your words faint light traveling outward, but that is enough. Stars do not apologize for dimming. They trust the silence, they trust the release. You watch another one now, so far away, it exists only as a dot of surrender, its fire reduced to twilight, and yet, it remains part of the sky. Even in fading, it contributes to the pattern, a single note in the lullaby of the universe. You sigh, not in sadness, but in understanding. To burn is to love, to fade is to have loved deeply. Fires are not meant to last, they are meant to warm, to light, to inspire, and then to let go. You feel yourself softening now, not as a dying star, but as someone ready to rest, ready to glow gently, to give without holding, to trust that fading is not the same as disappearing. You are drifting past these ancient fires now, through a sky that still remembers their warmth, through a cosmos that knows how to say goodbye with grace. And as you exhale, as your breath joins the long song of cooling stars, a thought rises like morning mist. If all fires must fade, what then begins again in the cold? You drift again, softer now, your breath in rhythm with something older than memory, older than stars, a quietness that grows, not from absence but from completion. All around you, the universe is slowing, not stopping, not dying, just dissolving into stillness. You begin to hear it, the music beneath everything, not melody, not chords, but movement, atoms spinning, waves crashing, hearts beating, galaxies turning in vast spirals of light. Everything dances. Even silence has a rhythm. Even the spaces between breaths hold tempo. You are part of this great symphony. Your cells vibrate, like strings plucked gently in the dark. Your thoughts shimmer, like notes suspended in air. But now, the tempo begins to shift. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, as if the conductor has stepped down from the podium and left the orchestra to fade on its own. This is entropy, once more, not a scream, not a crash, but the soft unraveling of song. Energy still exists, but it becomes less organized, less able to do work, less able to make new music. It is not lost, only spread thin, like sunlight diffused through 1,000 autumn leaves. You imagine a piano in the woods, each note pressed gently, then allowed to echo away into branches, into bark. No applause, no encore, only the quiet surrender of resonance to stillness. The universe is that piano now. It still sings but softer, with longer pauses between notes, with keys that no longer return to their perfect pitch, not because it failed, but because the song was always meant to end. You watch molecules dance beneath a microscope of thought. They jostle, they leap, they spin, but slowly they lose energy. They reach equilibrium, a place where nothing pushes and nothing resists. The room cools, the noise settles, and the air forgets it once held thunder. Even mountains, proud and silent, bow to time. They crumble, not in collapse, but in grains of surrender, their peaks ground down by wind, their spires softened by rain. Entropy, writes lullabies into stone, and in your own mind, you feel it too, the slow dispersal of urgency, the soft untangling of thought, not forgetting, but resting. Even your dreams have rhythm, until they stretch into images that no longer need sequence, only sensation, like a symphony's final note that hangs, just long enough to remind you what it meant. You are living inside that final note. The stars you passed in earlier chapters, they too are quieting, their photons still fly, but their fire no longer directs them. The light is scattered, not purposeless, just free. You listen deeper now, and you hear the heat, a kind of whisper, not of burning, but of memory dissolving. Entropy is not cruel, she simply makes sure nothing repeats forever. She makes room for change, for stories that finish, for echoes that fade. She is not silence, she is the frame around the song. The entropy of music is what gives it beauty. You know the chorus ends, the last note arrives, and so you listen closely while it lasts. Without that end, without that unraveling, there is no meaning. You hold that truth gently. Harmony is precious, because it disappears. Even inside you, thoughts arise, align, and drift, not because you are broken, but because you are alive. The unmaking is part of the process, not the enemy of it. Entropy does not erase the music, she softens it. She invites you to lean in, to remember more carefully, to appreciate the now, and then to let go. The stars do, the waves do, the forests do. You can too, and yet, even as the symphony fades, a hum remains, not silence, but background, the cosmic microwave whisper, leftover heat from the Big Bang still singing, though its voice is stretched across time, like soft velvet. It is faint, but real. The universe is cooling, entropy spreads energy thin, work becomes harder, fires grow rare, motion slows, but something always remains, a shimmer, a pulse, a breath. You are part of that breath, even in quiet, even in darkness, there is a presence. The unraveling is not an ending, it is a preparation. Just as a forest goes quiet before spring, just as the tide retreats before returning, there is always something next. Even in this long pause, this fading note, something stirs. You don't need to name it, only notice it. A warmth that remains in the ashes, a possibility curled up in the quiet. You reach the edge of the symphony now, not as a listener left behind, but as a musician putting down your instrument with gratitude. And in that stillness, as the final vibration dissolves into night, a gentle question takes shape in your chest. If everything unravels, what thread remains to be picked up again? You arrive in a time that barely breathes, a future folded so far ahead that stars have become stories, and heat is a relic, spoken in whispers. There is no fire here, no morning, no dusk, only the long stretch of after. The galaxies have thinned, their spirals unraveled, their stars long extinguished or swallowed whole. You walk across a plain, a cold, vast emptiness, not barren, but resting, as if the universe has finally laid down. After eons of burning, the engines of creation are still, not broken, simply finished. Stars no longer fuse, planets no longer form. Black holes, once kings of collapse, begin to fade themselves, evaporating into soft radiation, like campfires left behind by ancient travelers. The night is not dark, it is deep, so deep, it feels like memory made solid. Above, no constellations remain, no familiar signs, only the soft hum of background cold, spread evenly like frost over the remains of motion. This is the era of cold engines, where once everything moved. Now everything has settled, not collapsed, not erased, just quiet. The atoms still exist, but they barely speak to each other. No spark, no drive. Energy, still present, has lost its edge. It no longer rushes, it no longer builds, it drifts, thin, unmotivated, like tea left untouched, gone cold with time. You step carefully through this silent era, your thoughts louder than the cosmos, not because you are loud, but because everything else has learned to whisper. The engines grate, stars, spinning black holes, quasars flaring with pride. They once defined the sky, but now they are notes remembered, not played. Entropy has done her work well. She has not destroyed, only equalized. Heat has spread, particles have slowed, work has ended. There is no pressure, no conflict, no difference. Everything is the same temperature, the same softness, the same peace, and so there is no reason for anything to begin again. And yet, you keep walking, not because you must, but because even in the stillness, a part of you listens for a tremor, a flicker, a sign. But the sky is still. The stars that remain are cooled white dwarfs, dim and ancient. They glow not from purpose, but from leftover warmth. Like coals long past the fire, they resist the night, but barely. You rest beside one now, a pale, exhausted sun. Its light touches your skin, not as heat, but as memory. You imagine civilizations that once built engines to harness stars, fleets of minds stretched across galaxies, all of it returned to hush. You do not mourn them, you understand. Nothing is meant to run forever. Even the grandest machines stall. Even progress takes a final breath. The universe is not a failure, it is a breath exhaled. And this long cold silence is the space after the breath, the calm after song, the empty stage. You walk through this stillness as through a great cathedral, not empty, but complete. You hear no footsteps, only the soft murmur of particles moving so slowly. They've forgotten what urgency feels like. Even the black holes once feared, once worshipped, are now shrinking. They do not roar, they do not drag, they release. Bit by bit, they soften into nothing, and that is their grace. They do not cling to power, they do not fight time. They too understand the ending. You kneel beside one, a hole no longer hungry, barely discernible. It evaporates, releasing its last secrets in whispers of hawking radiation, and then it is gone. No sound, no flash, just absence folded back into space. You look up and the sky, once so crowded, now feels personal, not vast in terror, but intimate. You feel your own breath mimic the universe's exhale, soft, complete. In this frozen expanse, even time slows down, not stops but stretches. A second here feels like a century, not because it lingers, but because nothing competes with it. No ticking clocks, no flickering stars, only one moment, unrushed. You lie down on a field of nothing. The silence wraps around you, like snow, and still, you listen, because you were born from noise, from the hot, chaotic beginnings, and the echo of that birth still stirs in your bones. You are a warm engine, wandering into a cold age, and yet you feel no panic, only awe, only wonder, that anything ever moved, that anything ever burned, that you even now can think, can feel, can remember the warmth, long after it's gone. Perhaps that is your fire, your gift, to carry memory into stillness, to bring echo into silence. And so as you close your eyes, and your own body begins to slow, a final question floats across the great plain of space. If all heat is spent, if all motion ends, then what remains to dream in the dark? You drift now along the edge of shadow, not the kind cast by trees, but by gravity itself. Before you, an absence, a mouth that never closes, a black hole. It does not glow, it does not roar, it waits. This is hunger made geometry. The light around it bends, not broken but persuaded, drawn into orbits that never return. It is not a thing, it is a place. A region where space has fallen inward, folded into itself like sleep. You hover just beyond the event horizon, the threshold of no return, the moment where paths lead only one way, not by choice, but by nature. Light cannot escape, even time slows near its edge. Your seconds feel thick, drawn out, reluctant. Inside there is no direction, no meaning to next, just collapse. A star lived here once, burned bright, danced with planets, perhaps hosted life, but its fire outgrew its structure. Its core imploded, gravity won, and what remained was this. A silence so deep, it has gravity. You wonder, is it still the star, this black hole, or is it the shadow of one? Even memory can be consumed, everything drawn too close. A photon, a whisper, a name is swallowed, not destroyed, but hidden. Somewhere beyond view, you drift around it, carefully, like a moth circling an invisible flame. Black holes don't hunt, they do not chase, they wait. Their pull is not malice, it is invitation. They are the still centers of spirals, the hearts of galaxies. Even our own Milky Way spins around one. And yet, they are not eternal. They seem infinite, and still time touches them too. Stephen Hawking once listened to the equations and heard something unexpected. Even black holes evaporate, not in bursts, not in collapse, but in the softest unraveling. They give off radiation, a trickle, not a flood, born not from within, but from the restless quantum edges around them. Particles blink into existence at the rim. One falls in, the other escapes. What escapes is information, energy, a slow exhale of the unexhalable. This too is entropy. The hunger that once seemed infinite, now succumbs to age. It loses mass. It cools. It shrinks. Billions of years pass, and it fades, like steam rising from a pond. At twilight, you watch one now, far older than stars. It pulses with nothing, its horizon quivers, not from power, but from surrender. Its evaporation is so slow, you almost don't notice, like watching a mountain erode under moonlight. But it happens, and when it is gone, there will be no flash, no bang, only a release, a silence deeper than the one before. You realize something then. Even the devourers cannot escape time's lullaby. Not even they are immune to the universe's soft forgetting. They were feared, they were revered, but in the end they too return to the fabric. And yet, what of what they swallowed? What of the stars, the light, the questions? Where did it all go? Physicists still wonder, does information vanish forever, or is it written in the faintest radiation, encoded in the size of evaporation? The universe does not forget loudly. She whispers her secrets, in particle pairs, in ghostlight, in riddles that take eons to answer. You drift past another black hole, larger, quieter, older. Its spin has slowed, its mass has thinned. You reach out, not to touch, but to feel its hum. Even now it resonates, not with terror, but with grace. It has done its part, recycled matter, framed galaxies, taught humility, and now it rests. This is not just death, it is legacy. Like all things, it gives back to the dark. Your own thoughts now spiral, drawn inward. You wonder if there are places inside you that have collapsed, memories too heavy to hold, emotions too dense to escape. We all have black holes, we all contain gravity that shapes how others orbit us, but we also radiate. We let go, even the heavy things. Over time we soften, we evaporate, not disappear, transform. This is what the universe does. It teaches you through extremes. Even in the heart of hunger, there is softness. Even in the deepest collapse, there is release. You exhale, not from fear, but from knowing that nothing, not even the most immense, can resist change. The black hole fades behind you, a shadow becoming echo, a hunger becoming silence, and in that quiet, the next question rises. If even darkness can release, what does the universe do with everything it has let go? There was a time when the universe shimmered, not softly but fiercely, a time when light danced in every direction, painting galaxies in golden spirals, grazing over oceans, spilling across faces that turned toward the dawn. But now, you drift in a sky where light no longer leads, where darkness is not an absence, but a presence with weight. Still, light remains, thin, stretched, worn. You find one, a single photon, a flicker born in the furnace of a star that no longer exists. It has traveled for billions of years, past planets that burned then froze, past black holes now gone quiet, past engines that once roared, now cold, and still it moves. Not fast, not slow, but constant, always forward. This photon does not remember its birth, but it carries a whisper of heat, a fingerprint of a place that once was. You drift beside it. It cannot see you. It cannot stop. It is not alive, but it endures. A shard of memory gliding through the remains of a universe that has grown tired of shining. You wonder what it has seen. Suns being born in clouds of dust, worlds where rivers sang, eyes that opened for the first time and blinked beneath its touch. Light was witness to it all, but now the photon is stretched. Its energy faded, its color redshifted into wavelengths so long, they barely register. Once it was blue, hot, sharp as a blade of summer. Now it is cold, dulled, ash-colored, still light but tired. It sails across galaxies that have since gone dim. The stars that emitted it have collapsed or scattered. Their warmth has vanished into entropy's quiet tide. No one receives this photon. No eye catches it. No telescope waits for its arrival. It simply moves on, a messenger with no audience, a sentence spoken into a room long emptied. And yet, it matters, because it is here, still carrying its past, still traveling, still telling its tale, even if no one listens. You think of your own memories, how some still move through you, long after their warmth has faded, how even forgotten moments leave shadows. The photon is like that, a ghost of light. The universe's sigh turned into motion. You drift beside it, following its slow, endless glide, across what remains of the cosmos. Around you space stretches, not as a place but as a pulling. Everything grows farther apart. Galaxies recede, not because they move, but because space itself expands. The photon grows colder, more diffuse, more distant from its origin. This is the fate of all light, not to disappear, but to forget how to burn. Entropy, again, softly unraveling brightness. You recall the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, once a searing blaze, now cooled to a hum. Photons from that time still drift, bathing the universe in a uniform whisper. You are inside that whisper now, surrounded by light that no longer warms, and still it sings, not in melody, but in presence. Light is the oldest traveler. It asks for no rest, only direction. The photon before you is among the last, that remembers brightness, not because it thinks but because it moves. You reach toward it, knowing you cannot touch it, knowing it has no need for touch. It passes through your hand, like wind through a thought. You marvel at its simplicity. No mass, no tired limbs, only a line, drawn perfectly through space. Yet it is tired, not from burden, but from age. It stretches beyond the known, its energy too faint to stir even an atom, and still it does not stop. You wonder, is this devotion, or inertia? Is the photon still light, if it no longer lights anything? Or is it now ash, not the ash of destruction, but of transformation? A star gave birth to it, time softened it, distance cooled it, and now it becomes a symbol of everything that tries, of everything that continues without applause. You follow it as it leaves even the edge of meaning. There is no more heat ahead, no more structure, only cold, only the stretched canvas of what once was, and here you let it go. It continues. You pause. It will never stop. But it will, eventually, matter less. Even light fades, not in brightness, but in purpose. And in that fading, there is truth. What matters is that it moved, that it carried something long after anyone could hear it. You close your eyes. The photon becomes a line, then a dot, then memory. The sky is now darker, not because it has ended, but because it has exhaled. Light, too, has earned its rest. You breathe, the hush returns, and within that hush, the universe leans toward a new question. If light forgets how to shine, then what remains to see what's left? You are drifting now through silence so deep, It no longer echoes, the stars have faded, the engines have stilled, even the light stretched thin has grown cold, and now it is memory's turn. You feel it begin to soften, not just yours but the memory of the universe itself. Entropy does not stop at matter, it touches meaning. Gently, relentlessly, what once pulsed with purpose, now loosens its grip. Books crumble into dust, languages drift into silence, stories fade from lips that no longer speak. Even digital traces carved into crystals, spun into data decoherence will come for them too. A particle drifts, a bit flips, a signal blurs into noise, and meaning unravels. This is not destruction, there is no violence in forgetting. It is a soft, natural fog that rolls in when no one is left to watch the horizon. You close your eyes. Inside your mind there are names, faces, laughter. Moments once sharp, now rounded. Memories wearing smooth edges, like stones by a river. You remember a hug, the warmth of another heartbeat against your chest. You remember the way someone once said your name, as if it meant something only they understood. Where do these things go? Do they live as long as you remember them? Or do they echo for a while after, like heat held in the bones of a wall? Perhaps all memory is heat, and entropy, the gentle dispersal of that heat, until the room grows still. The universe had memories too, patterns carved in crystal, chemistry etched into DNA, languages passed by wind and word, fossils, photographs, rhythms, all of its structure that held meaning. And meaning is delicate. You walk through a field of once minds now, civilizations that burned with thought, dreams stacked like books in invisible libraries, algorithms, poems, murmured prayers, now only patterns in dust, not erased, just unreadable, like music notes fallen out of order, like the scent of someone long gone, lingering faintly in a room no one enters. Entropy has no malice. It forgets because it must. It unthreads the stories, so the thread may be used again. You run your hand along the fabric of the cosmos, feeling where the embroidery once was. Here a memory of fire, here a trace of love, here a blueprint of life. But the stitching loosens, the thread grows frayed, and you begin to ask, quietly, what happens when nothing remembers? Not you, not machines, not light, not time, when even memory forgets. Perhaps the question isn't where memory goes, but what it becomes. Does it dissolve into the symmetry of things? Is it absorbed by the stillness, or does it fall like seeds into a soil that no longer grows? You remember, faintly, that information can't be destroyed. Not truly. The laws say it transforms, hides, spreads. Maybe memory isn't lost, only too scattered to reassemble, like ashes that once burned, in the shape of a thought. Perhaps in the far future, another kind of being, born from silence, might find the scattered pieces, not to rebuild you, but to feel the warmth of what you once were, like holding a fossil and knowing it once moved. But what if that never comes? What if all meaning simply stops? There is still grace in that. A tree does not mourn the leaf it drops. A flame does not weep for its own smoke. You, too, can learn to let go. Even now, drifting through a universe grown quiet, you carry memory's final breath. You feel its weight, not heavy, but tender. Every memory that ever was leads here, to this moment, to this stillness, to this soft question, who are we when we are no longer remembered? And in that silence, you feel something else. Freedom. Without memory, there is no burden, no past to uphold, no sorrow to preserve. Only being, only now. You breathe in the emptiness. You find it gentle. There is no fear here. Only the final exhale of something that once meant everything. You are not lost. You are becoming part of what remains. When even the past is gone, not absence but the foundation beneath meaning. Like the blank page, before any story is written, you float through it, not broken, not erased, transcended, and just before you surrender, you feel it, a question, echoing without origin. If even memory forgets, then what awakens at the end of forgetting? You float into a universe that no longer stirs, not because it is empty, but because it is complete. The work is done, the stars have burned, the black holes have sighed their last, the light has stretched beyond meaning, and now everything is the same. Temperature no longer dances between hot and cold. It is even, everywhere, a single soft murmur across the infinite. No structure, no pulse, no memory of fire, just balance. Perfect, undisturbed balance. You drift, and nothing pulls, nothing pushes. You are neither rising nor falling. You are held. This is the blanket of uniformity, woven not of matter, but of stillness. Where once there were galaxies spinning, now there is haze. Where once heat raced from stars, now there is rest. Entropy has finished her gentle choreography. Every gradient has flattened, every difference dissolved. It is not chaos, it is not disorder, it is the final symmetry. You move through it, as through a great fog that neither cools nor warms. It simply exists, like breath without lungs, like silence without expectation. There is no more energy to extract, no more work to perform. The universe is not broken, it is relaxed, fully, every atom spaced evenly, every frequency drawn out into still hum, and you, a consciousness born from contrast, now feel that contrast slipping away. You remember color, now all is grey. You remember rhythm, now all is pause. You remember wanting, now all is enough. This is not death. Death is a doorway, a change. But here, there is no more change. No more before or after. Only now, endlessly wide, endlessly soft. You feel your thoughts stretch, like light red-shifted into oblivion. You are not forgetting, you are merging. You are becoming part of the blanket itself. No longer observer, but thread. Even time slows to a yawn. Seconds widen. Moments drift into one another, until the idea of counting feels like chasing waves on a frozen sea. You rest, not on a surface, but inside the hush. There is no above, no below, only within. And within this quiet, there is peace. A peace not bought, not earned, but inevitable. This is where everything was always going, not because it had to, but because it could. You close your eyes, but your eyelids have no shadow. There is no more light to block, no more night or day to divide the sky. Everything simply is, uniform. Still content, the universe has become its own lullaby. A note held so long, it fades into the background of silence itself. You drift deeper, not downward, not away, but inward into the fold of final calm. You are tucked in now, not by hands, but by the lack of need. Everything is equal, everywhere is the same, a perfect equilibrium. This was the quiet promise of entropy all along. Not destruction, but rest, not darkness, but completion. You breathe, not to stay alive, but to feel. The breath is light, it does not ripple the air, it does not disturb the quiet. It is the last sigh before the dream begins. And oh, what a dream this has been. From the first flare of the Big Bang, to the curling of galaxies, to the fire of stars, and the laughter of minds, all of it now laid down, blanket, balanced, safe. You listen for something, a flicker, a murmur, a crack in the stillness, but there is nothing left to echo, no surfaces to bounce sound, no ears to receive it. You are not alone, you are part of the one thing that remains. The one thing that does not change, stillness. Your thoughts quiet now, not from forgetting, but from no longer needing to remember. The story has reached its final punctuation, not a period, but a breath held indefinitely. And yet, in the absolute uniformity, in the total rest, something inside you wonders, softly, wordlessly. If everything is the same, then what stirs when difference dares to return? You have arrived. not at a place, but a state, not a destination, but the absence of need for one. The universe has grown so quiet that even silence feels full. This is the heat death, not death in the way you know it, not cold bodies or flickering candles, but something softer, a total surrender. Every wave has flattened, every gradient has balanced, every movement has softened into stillness. There is no hot or cold, no dark or light, no before or after, only evenness, only rest. Entropy has completed its long, gentle climb, and now it rests too, folded into the fabric it once unraveled. No engines turn, no stars flare, no thoughts rise, and yet you are here, drifting inside a cosmos that no longer changes, but still exists. Matter remains, energy remains, but nothing stirs it. You float in a space that holds everything, but does nothing with it. This is not loss, this is equilibrium, the final state, the last chord, held so long, it becomes the background of all existence. You feel no weight, no hunger, no time. Even your thoughts begin to mirror the universe. Slow, even, still. You are not afraid. How could you be? Fear belongs to difference, to contrast, to unknown futures. But there is no unknown here, only what is, and what always will be. The fabric of reality has stopped moving, and yet it remains present, like a lake that has frozen so still, you wonder if it was ever water at all. You lie back in this endless, unchanging stillness, and feel it wrap around you, not to smother, to cradle. The heat death is not a closing door, it is the absence of need for doors. Nothing new will begin here. And yet, nothing is missing. There is no more fuel, because there is nothing left to power. There is no more change, because there is no imbalance to resolve. This is peace, stripped of tension, existence without urgency. You are not apart from it. You are part of its dream. You think of gods, not the ones who act, but the ones who sleep, the ones who dream creation, and then let it drift. You wonder, is this what a sleeping God feels like? Not longing, not grief, only a soft pulse, at the edge of nothing, a presence so vast, so still, it becomes indistinguishable from silence. You are drifting inside that pulse now, the dream that remains, when all other dreams have been dreamt. In this state, you are no longer name, no longer self, you are warmth, spread evenly across a universe that no longer needs to burn. You are pattern, dissolved but not lost. You are what's left. When even memory grows still, you reach for nothing, and nothing reaches back with open arms. And still somewhere in the soft folds of this balance, there is a rhythm, not a beat, not a spark, but something like the echo of a lullaby that ended long ago, a cosmic hum, a tone that does not rise or fall, and it feels alive, not in the way life once pulsed, with hunger, desire, change, but with presence. A kind of existence that asks for nothing, that simply is. You feel yourself becoming that hum, not dissolving, but expanding, not ending, but unfolding into uniformity. Every boundary you once held skin, thought, name becomes soft, then seamless, then gone. You are now what the universe has become, a great silent sea, with no waves, no shores, no sky, just evenness, just peace. It is beautiful, in a way, words cannot hold, because it asks nothing of you, because it gives everything. By needing nothing, you have become the final note, in a symphony that played itself into stillness, not with crescendo, not with applause, but with grace. And just as your awareness prepares to settle fully, to release even the last thread of wandering, a quiet feeling stirs, a ripple, so faint, it could be your own imagination, a possibility, a question, a softness, pressing gently at the edge of the silence. If the universe has surrendered all motion, might this be the breath, before something new dreams again? You are weightless. Now, not floating, but merged, not in space, but in silence. The universe is so still, you wonder if it remembers how to stir. No breath, no wind, no rhythm, and yet there is something beneath the stillness. Not movement, not sound, but a hum, a presence, faint as starlight, long faded, not gone, just resting. You drift deeper into this vast hush, wrapped in the blanket of uniformity, cradled by the completed work of time. Everything has settled, every imbalance has softened, the orchestra has fallen silent, not because it failed, but because the song was whole. And yet, here in the quiet, a question lingers: is this truly the end, or just the space between chords? You listen. You do not expect an answer. You only want to know if the silence is listening back, because silence, true silence, is never empty. It is a container, a seed. You feel it now. The way this stillness doesn't push you away. It holds you, like soil holds a root in winter, like sleep holds a dream not yet born. Perhaps this is not a death. Perhaps it is dormancy. The heat death was never destruction. It was surrender, a sigh drawn so long. It became song. And in that song, there remains a thread of wonder. What happens next? Can anything happen next? No gradients remain. No fuel. No spark. No difference. But difference was once born from uniformity. The early universe was not a storm. It was balance, disturbed just enough to bloom. Maybe this silence is another such balance. Perfect, poised, waiting. You remember how waves are formed, a ripple in symmetry, a nudge in the calm. All it takes is one tremble. And so you wonder, could there be a new breath, not one you take, but one the universe exhales after resting long enough? Could silence be the cocoon from which new time unfolds? You ask this without urgency. You are not rushing toward rebirth. You are not clinging to cycles. You are only listening to see if the quiet echoes, and it does, not loudly, not in answer, but in presence, a feeling, a possibility, as if the universe, though still dreams. Perhaps that is all that is needed, a dream, the first ingredient of becoming. You imagine now, the very edges of this frozen cosmos, atoms spread thin, time stretched wide, entropy fully paid, but somewhere, somehow, a fluctuation, tiny, random, innocent, a whisper where there should be none, and in that whisper, a spark, the smallest unevenness, a note just out of key, a pause lifting into breath. You do not know if it will happen, or when, or how, but you feel it, the promise inside the pause, and that, you realize, is what echoes truly are. Not just sounds repeated, but reminders that what once was might be again. You are not waiting, you are not hoping, you are simply here at the threshold of the deepest quiet, and even here, even now, something stirs, a dream, perhaps, or just the shape of a question, too large to answer. You close your eyes and rest within that shape. You become it, and as the hush deepens, as even thought begins to fold into itself, a single possibility unfurls. If all things end in silence, might silence be where things begin?